And I have 11 o'clock. Good morning, Sunday Assembly. My name is Richard. I'm your host this month. I've been involved in this Sunday Assembly for about 8 years. At the moment, I'm even serving on the board. I have exceeded my term limit as director, so feel free to start a conspiracy to replace me. Today, though, I'm guiding you through our program. Not that most of you need it. I should disclose, and Zoom already has, that we are recording this assembly. The recording is in the speaker view. That means the video we send to you is recorded and not the reverse. So the recording will show me, not you. You will still have privacy, but you'll also be able to watch this meeting again later on YouTube. We always like to start with a song. Now, a few more words about this. You are muted, but we do hope that you'll sing along. That definitely makes the song more fun. If you're really into it, stand up and dance. Your exuberance will be infectious. We can see you even if we can't hear you. So yeah, leave the video on when you dance. I do. When the song is over, you could clap, but we wouldn't hear you. So you can make this jazz gesture, or you can clap like this, whichever works for you. Today, the first song from our Sunday Assembly Band is You Are the Sunshine by Stevie Wonder. And Krista tells me that this recording was made at our last in-person assembly, which was back in February 2020. Go ahead with the song, Bill.
You are the
Thank you, band, and thank you, audience, for adding your voices. A few words about Sunday Assembly. The first Sunday Assembly took place in London, England in 2013. We have chapters all over the world by now. What we're striving to do is build a community of people that inspire one another to live better, help often, and wonder more. We are a secular community, encouraging everyone to follow their own inner journey. Our Silicon Valley chapter holds monthly assemblies like this one, and we also have small groups to help build closer connections between people who share more special interests. You'll hear more about that later. We aspire for the community to be open so that besides belonging and participating, we can make new friends. If this is your first time joining a Sunday Assembly, then welcome and congratulations. Please accept this virtual high five. And we owe you a real one once we resume in-person assemblies, which should be quite soon. We are working on it. If this is your second time, we're so happy you came back. You deserve 2 high fives. I hope you recognize a few of us. Remember some people you met last time. Now, it's time for our creative space, which today consists of 3 short readings, selected and delivered by our new resident philosopher, Rachel. Good morning, Rachel. Are you ready?
Good morning. When thinking about the theme, happiness, I was naturally drawn to quotes that reflect the values of Sunday Assembly. So each of the 3 quotes echoes one part of Sunday Assembly's motto: live better, help often, wonder more. So the first, live better, the following quote is from the Dalai Lama's The Art of Happiness, and it reflects on living better by having purpose and developing strong values. Sometimes when I meet old friends, it reminds me how quickly time passes, and it makes me wonder if we've utilized our time properly or not. Proper utilization of time is so important. While we have this body, and especially this amazing human brain, I think every minute is something precious. Our day-to-day existence is very much alive with hope, although there is no guarantee of our future. There is no guarantee that tomorrow at this time we will be here. But we are working for that purely on the basis of hope. So we need to make the best of our time. I believe the proper utilization of time is this: if you can, serve other people, other sentient beings. If not, at least refrain from harming them. I think that is the whole basis of my philosophy. So let us reflect on what is truly of value in life, what gives meaning to our lives, and set our priorities on the basis of that. The purpose of our life needs to be positive. We weren't born with the purpose of causing trouble or harming others. For our life to be of value, I think we must develop basic good human qualities: warmth, kindness, compassion. Then our life becomes meaningful and more peaceful, happier. So the second piece of the motto, help often. This quote is from John Mark Templeton's Worldwide Laws of Life. It speaks to the need for service and connection that many modern people are seeking. We may think that happiness is a result of happy circumstances. A more mature view of happiness is that it is a byproduct of sharing our good and serving others. It is a sense of doing a job well, honest communication with another, visiting someone who may be ill, or sharing a sense of humor. Happiness is a spiritual principle that we can lay hold of and use, regardless of outer conditions or circumstances. It isn't necessary to wait for circumstances to bring happiness. When we give it to others, it returns to us multiplied. We can make our own joy and let it act upon circumstance. One of the great paradoxes of truth is that a happy heart draws to itself what it needs for happiness. So the third piece of the motto is wonder more. This quote is from Gerald Brennan, a British author who spent much of his life in Spain, known for several historical and autobiographical works. And this quote highlights intellectual curiosity. One road to happiness is to cultivate curiosity about everything, not only about people, but about subjects, not only about the arts, but about history and foreign customs, not only about countries and cities, but about plants and animals, not only about lichen rocks and curious markings on the barks of trees, but about the stars and the atoms, not only about friends, but about that strange labyrinth we inhabit, which we call ourselves. Then, if we do that, we will never suffer a moment's boredom. Thank you all for listening this morning.
And thank you for those quotes, Rachel. I'm already starting to want to become a better person. Next up is our guest speaker, Joshua French of Action for Happiness. Action for Happiness is a movement of people taking action to create a happier world. Their motto is happier, kinder, together. You know, Joshua, that sounds a lot like our motto at Sunday Assembly. Do you think we could steal it? Joshua leads the support and training of Action for Happiness's global volunteer network and has been a co-organizer of the Brighton group where he lived for nearly a decade. So I hope you can find one in Newcastle too. Good luck with that. Because I am quite sure that nobody that far north can be happy. He loves exploring how a playful approach to life can support our own and others' well-being. I'm truly looking forward to what he has to tell us. Please give a warm jazz hands welcome for Joshua French.
Fantastic, thank you very much, and jazz hands back. It's great to be here, and thank you so much, Richard, for inviting me, and the whole Sunday Assembly Silicon Valley team for the warm welcome. It's great to be here, and as Richard said, I've got a couple of different roles in terms of how I support Action for Happiness Brighton and Action for Happiness as a whole movement, supporting lots of the volunteers across the network. And some of you might be very well aware of Action for Happiness already, because especially in the UK, I know that quite a lot of people who attend Sunday Assembly also might occasionally attend an Action for Happiness event. So it may be that some of you are aware already. And I'd love to explore this topic with you. And for about 15 minutes, would invite you to be really interactive with it. So I'll kind of guide us through, I'll put some slides on in a minute and talk a little bit about the science of happiness and perhaps some connections that it might have with Sunday Assembly too. But if you've at any point got any thoughts or reflections, or perhaps you've read a TED talk about the topic, you've watched a TED talk about the topic or read a book or whatever, do share your wisdom and your insights into the chat feed as well, so that we can have an interactive session. I think that will be more fun for all of us. So let's get going with the slides. So in terms of the focus, it's keys to happier living or keys to happiness. And I really loved, Rachel, those quotations you chose. And in actual fact, the Dalai Lama is our patron as a movement. So that was a brilliant one to start us off with. And we're going to be doing a little warm-up exercise. Before we do that in the chat feed, I invite us all just to, whatever we're doing right now, whether we're having a coffee or just sat there listening, whether we're stood, whether we're in a car, wherever we are as we're watching or listening to this, just really tune in to how you're currently feeling. And that might be happy, it might be sad, it might be a little bit anxious, it might be a bit neutral. Just have a mindful moment where you check into how you're feeling right now. And then we're going to follow that up with taking probably the simplest action that we can take that can help us create a happier world, lead a happier life for ourselves and support others too as well, which is choosing to focus our attention on the positives. So just moving to the next slide, and very clear action there. What's one thing I currently feel positive about? And inviting you to think about it, share it in the chat feed, could be that you feel optimistic or hopeful about something or grateful about something. As Richard mentioned, I was in Brighton for a long time on the south coast of the UK. Now I'm up in Newcastle, so something I'm feeling particularly positive about is a whole new area to explore. I love exploring new places. There's great beaches around here, lots of towns, cities and things. So that's something I'm feeling particularly positive about, as well as being here. So in the chat feed, invite you to take that action for happiness, is put into the chat feed something that you are currently feeling positive about. So over to you for that. Like I said, it can be related to a sense of optimism or hope for the future, perhaps connections that we've made. Thank you for starting us off, Krista. So great to see about those kind of the relationships you've already formed earlier on at the start of this meeting when you were checking in before the assembly, and what we're coming on to the relationships. And I love the fact that Sunday Assembly, and in so many ways, we're on the same wavelength, Sunday Assembly and Action for Happiness, so much about bringing people together and forming these relationships. I see other things coming in, like themes coming through about reconnecting with old friends, being supported by our friends lately. So do keep those coming through. And notice as well, we had a bit of a mindful check-in with our feelings earlier. Notice how we feel as we are reading others, as we're writing our own, and as we're articulating the things that we feel positive about. Because I said it's a really simple action, and it is. And the research has shown, and still shows, that if we can get into the habit of putting our attention consciously on things that feel good for us in whatever way, and that can have a profound positive impact on our mental health and on our well-being. So with that in mind, I'm going to talk about Action for Happiness as a whole movement, and we might see some connections as we go in terms of how it links to what Sunday Assembly is doing. I'm sure we will. So Action for Happiness is a charity, and it's a movement, exactly as it says here, of people taking action to create a happier and kinder world, and not just doing this on their own, but doing this together. And underneath, and you can see just a few of the things that we do as an organisation, actions that we have taken to create spaces and platforms for people to connect and learn more about the science of happiness, as well as the science of kindness and compassion. So, for example, we've developed a free online coaching program that people can access off the website. And thank you, because I know the link to the website was put up earlier in the chat feed. So do feel free to open that up and explore it later. Talks. So Action for Happiness is very much evidence-based. So we invite experts from across the field of well-being, such as Sean Acor, Arianna Huffington, and others, to come and join interactive webinars, a little bit like this, and then all of those are captured in a library as well that you can explore. Groups, and part of my role is supporting the volunteers who lead our monthly groups, sometimes meeting face to face, but mostly at the moment meeting online to support each other in their community around finding practical ways to take action in the world around them. And courses, we've had previous courses, and there's a new one about to be launched that help people really focus in on understanding the topic of happiness and compassion. And then I love this last one, Happy Cafes is something that, you know, any cafe can actually get a pack and can call themselves a happy cafe. And that just means that they are articulating the fact that they are a place where people can come, connect, learn more about happiness, and support each other around that as well. So just a few of the ways that we take action to create a happier world as a movement. And I wanted to mention a few of the things that we believe are important. And firstly is that happiness matters. I think a lot of us at Sunday Assembly are very well aware of that and really feel that that's very important, and you demonstrate it in your actions and your commitments to connect to the people around you and wonder more and things like that. But in a lot of our society, it doesn't always seem like it matters that much. And if we were fully kind of focused on what we might be invited to put our attention on and prioritize in our lives, then maybe we wouldn't so much always be taking the actions that create a happier world for ourselves and the people around us. So it's really about trying to kind of help people understand the importance of well-being and us all taking action to do that together. And that's another important thing is, as in one of the quotations earlier, it's not just about the circumstances that we're born into. I mean, they're or that we live within, they are important, but we can also make a difference to our levels of happiness and others by the actions that we take. And the final thing I just wanted to mention that we believe is really important is that it's okay not to be okay. It's certainly not a movement of you have to be happy all the time, paint a smiley face on everything. It's about understanding that we all fluctuate in terms of our levels of happiness, and being present with all our emotions, the good, the sad sometimes, the angry, the excited, all the different variety of human emotions actually makes a real positive difference to our well-being and resilience in the longer term if we can be present with all of those emotions. So moving on, and wanted to share, I mentioned it was evidence-based, the keys to happiness, or the keys to happier living. So these are all backed by research, by science. So what are the things that actually do make a tangible difference to how we feel on a day-to-day basis? What are the actions that we can take? So I'm going to talk through these briefly. And as I do it, I'd love to invite you to partly just individually reflect. Think about these in your own life. Which are really important to you at the moment? Are there any that are particularly strong for you? Are there any that you'd like to be stronger? Also, you might want to think about Sunday Assembly, and have any of these been strengthened for you by attending Sunday Assemblies, whether you've been a long-standing member or you've just joined. And also, again, like as I'm talking through them, if you think, yes, I really want to share this insight I had about this, or something I do related to this key, or a book I read, or whatever, then do feel free to put anything like that into the chat feed as well. So the 10 keys to happier living. And you can see they spell out an acronym, Great Dream. Giving is the first one. So when we do a kind act for others, it's not just the person who receives that kind act, it's the one who gives the kind act as well. Both of them receive a boost of well-being, typically. Relating, finding ways to have a more deep connection with the people that you might know already, or even micro positive connections with strangers you meet in the street can have a real difference to our levels of well-being. Exercising, taking care of the body, that's definitely got a relationship to our levels of happiness. And you see that it's got a red border around it. That's because it's the theme of this month, Active April. So we'll come back to that in a moment when we look at the calendar for the month. Awareness, we did a slight bit of mindfulness earlier. We were checking in with our feelings. And I encourage you as we go through the rest of this Sunday Assembly, just to try and keep a mindful connection to how you're feeling and your thoughts, and because this really does have an impact on our levels of happiness and resilience and well-being, if we can keep that mindful connection, or even little bits of it on a reasonably regular basis. Trying out, we talked about curiosity in that quotation earlier. So new things, feeding your curiosity, trying a new route to work or to the park or whatever. Learning new things definitely links to our well-being and mental health being stronger. Direction, having goals to look forward to. So it could be things that are kind of linked to our strengths, linked to our passions. And it's not about only being happy once we've achieved that goal, but it's definitely about being happy on the journey towards it, but having something that you're looking forward to is important for our well-being too. Resilience, I think we all, at any time, even before the last couple of years, have had resilience and developed resilience because of the challenges we face in our lives, but really especially over the last couple of years, there's been so much that has helped us perhaps understand the things that we have done and have needed to do to support our ability to kind of keep persevering and keep going in challenging times, and support the people around us too. Emotions, that's exactly what we did earlier, looking for things that were good, finding positive things to focus on. And some of you might have heard of gratitude journaling. At the end of the day, writing down things you feel grateful for. So there's lots of ways that we can take that positive approach. acceptance, be comfortable with who you are, be your own best friend, or at least a friend. Speak to yourself as you would other friends, and get to know your strengths as well as your weaknesses. And then the last one, meaning, being part of something bigger. It's so important. And even when we're not feeling cheerful, that's okay. But we might still be able to hold in our attention something that we're connected to in our life that feels really meaningful to us. And Action for Happiness is all about helping each other put those into action. So I'm going to leave that slide up just for a few more moments, because what we're going to move towards as we're coming towards the closing parts of this is starting to think about what's an action that I might take away. What's something that I could do after the Sunday Assembly, perhaps today, perhaps next week, that could be just a small, achievable thing that might make a difference to myself, to someone else, or perhaps both. And because the theme of this month is Active April, as you'll see when I show the calendar on the next slide, most of the actions that might inspire you on the next slide will be related to the key of exercising and taking care of the body, but it's not limited to that. You can come up with any ideas. So I just wanted to leave that up just as you were starting to think about actions that you might like to take. Okay, so now moving on. Now we have not just these calendars on our website that are updated every month, but also an app that every day you get nudges about each one of these actions that you can take. And what's the latest with the app? Loads and loads of people kind of registered on it, and 24,000 active users at the last count. So it's a free app, and I do recommend, even though lots of us are having kind of digital overload sometimes in our life, but if you do, if you are keen to find a kind of a positive community or getting these nudges for daily actions that we can take, do recommend having a look at that. And so what's today's action? It's the 10th. Have a day free from TV or screens and get moving instead. So none of us can have a day free of screens, but we might be able to have an evening free of screens, or at least a bit of our day where we have kind of boundaries around how many screens we're looking at. That might be something that frees up space for more kind of physical activity. And then day 27, find a fun exercise to do while waiting for the kettle to boil. We're just standing there, we're just quickly scrolling on our phone, or could we actually kind of do a couple of push-ups against the kitchen counter or something, or put a song on and dance around a bit. So something to kind of start to take agency in terms of the actions we can take to have these little boosts of well-being into our days. And then there's lots of that, or you can see on there, get active in nature, feed the birds, or go wildlife spotting. So I can kind of let you kind of have a look at this and just see if any of these stand out to you as something that you might be keen to kind of try out, but also you can come up with your own ideas as well and your own actions. And I'd love to spend just a couple of minutes, a few minutes at the end, just to hear some of your ideas, your own things that you've already tried, perhaps creative ideas, kind of tiny little things you might want to do, or totally wacky outside the box things. And I'm going to move on to the next slide. If you're thinking, oh, I'd like to look back at that calendar, very easy, just go to the Action for Happiness page. You can do it, it's in the chat feed, or you can do an internet search for it, and then the calendar is one of the first things you see. I'm going to go to the next slide and invite you to answer this question. Complete the statement. One small, simple action I'm going to take following this session is, and I would love to see some of your ideas of actions in the chat feed. And one thing I'll join in with this as well. So as you're writing those in, you might, I don't know how aware you are of this, but you might be very aware. I think there was a Will Ferrell film recently about the topic, but we have a contest, the Eurovision Song Contest, and it's coming up relatively soon. And I think an action I might take is, I know that the album's been released and the songs often are quite amusing. Let's put it that way. So one action I might take is find an amusing song from the upcoming Eurovision playlist and have a bit of a dance around to it at the end of my Sunday night, because it's night here in the UK. So I'd love to, I'm going to open up the chat feed so I can see some of your actions coming through. So what have we got? Watering plants, getting back to bike riding. Fantastic. Getting out in the garden, planting some seeds, feel the sun, yes, savor that, and really enjoy that kind of the mindfulness combined with appreciation of being out in nature can be a really powerful well-being boost. Arranged to just having a look, sing a song, lovely, enjoy. And yeah, I enjoyed singing along to You Are the Sunshine of My Life earlier. Oh, I didn't know that. There's a USA specific version of Eurovision Song Contest called American Song Contest. Excellent. That's something for me to look up. That's me learning a new thing there. And walkout sounds good. Okay, great. So I'm coming towards the end of this now. All the best with your actions. And here's my final kind of invitation to you. As well as taking your action, do have a look, if you do get the chance, at the Action for Happiness website and explore some of the resources, because even if it's not something that for you you think is really relevant right now, it may be that you spot something that actually could support someone else that you're connected to, or in your community. You can see there's things for school, there's workplaces there, because there's a rich range of resources of things that you can use and share to help create a happier world. So you may even want to join our movement and take a pledge to create a happier world with us. And I know that Sunday Assembly itself is really doing that. So thank you for everything that you're doing. And I'm going to pass back now to Richard, and I really appreciate having this time with you at Sunday Assembly Silicon Valley. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joshua. That felt very encouraging, and especially the great dream part seems highly actionable. So I will try and snip myself a picture of that slide. For the rest of you, Joshua will be available for questions after the end of the program in about another half an hour. So look for him in the speakers table breakout room, of course. Next comes our second song. We invite you to sing along with What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. Video production here was by Ben and Aiko, and they're pretty great. Take it away.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
What a lovely and calming, peaceful song. Thanks, music team, and thanks, Ben and Aiko, for the creative video production. The segment we have now is called Doing Your Best, when we invite one of our own members to share a personal story on how they are meeting some challenge or doing their best. And today we welcome Josh. You ready, Josh?
Yes. Thanks, everyone. So let's see here. Let me get ready for next cue. All right, thanks. So since the day is about happiness, I thought I'd start by talking about death. Peculiar thing about me is that given enough time, every conversation I'm in veers towards death. So I figured I'd just start there and get it over with. It's not that I'm obsessed with death or something. I just talk about it all the time. Made up a game with my kids about writing dark poetry. Find the Egyptian god of death particularly comforting as a concept, Anubis. He's also a cute furry boy. And as I said, subconsciously, I make every conversation about that. As a defense, I consciously try to make every conversation about Star Trek, which works about half the time. J.R.R. Tolkien called death the gift of men in the Lord of the Rings novels. I'll be calling it the gift of humans moving forward because I'm not a white guy in the 1930s, thank goodness. The idea was that unlike immortal species like the elves, humans had short lifespans and therefore would feel pressure to do something worthwhile with what limited time they had. That we wouldn't be content to just laze around and listen to poetry and songs like the elves. No offense to any elves in the audience. I've read that Lincoln was motivated by a need to be remembered, or rather a need to not be forgotten. I suppose the gift of humans worked in Lincoln's case since we built that guy a Greek temple up in DC. By striving for a big, fat, possibly unreachable goal, we as humans find happiness. Viktor Frankl says, happiness cannot be pursued, it must ensue. And I think he's right. As for me, the gift of humans takes a different form. The great goal for me is not to be remembered as in some great edifice like Augustus, or to give some great gift to the world like Jonas Salk, or discover something new like a Starfleet captain. See, I got Trek in there somehow. It's to be a good dad, and to contribute to a good line of parents. Put it another way, I want my tombstone to read, he was a good dad. When I succeed at being a good dad, I feel happy. And when I don't, I don't. This can be a challenge since I didn't grow up with a lot of examples of good dadding to cheat from. My dad had no time for me. My TV dad was Captain Picard, a man legendary for hating children. I've had a lot of it. I've had to make a lot of it up. Excuse me. I've had to make a lot of it up, and I've grown along the way to varying degrees of success. Have I made huge mistakes while parenting? Yes. Am I doing my best? Absolutely. Should I have read a book or two about parenting? Probably. I see my kids 3 or 4 times a week, but since I only have time, only a few hours with them at a time, I feel structured activities are helpful. They help focus my mind on the kids since it tends to wander quite a bit, especially after a full day of meetings at work. When I focus on my kids, they respond. They want my attention more than anything else, and that's the one thing that's difficult to give. On days when I don't plan, we tend to just play too many video games and I gravitate to doom scrolling on Reddit on my phone. These are the days when I'm not happy. When a kid has your attention, they feel happy, and that kind of makes sense. Time and attention is the one thing that even Jeff Bezos has a limited amount of. Like the great philosopher Smash Mouth once said, the years start coming and they don't stop coming. The gift of humans gives our minutes value, and I choose to spend as many of mine as possible with my kids and also Star Trek. And maybe I'll spend a few of them thinking about death too. It's what makes me happy. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for that, Josh. I remember once an interview with Sir Patrick Stewart in which I think the interviewer asked him, do you feel that Star Trek is a father figure to its audience? And Said, yes, perhaps we are. Captain Kirk, well, I would not call him a father figure. He had other roles to play. And segueing back into my official script, we are always glad to hear from any of you or many of you about what inspires you to live better, help often, wonder more, or more generally about challenges you've been facing in your life. And doing your best means it's okay to talk about a challenge that you have not yet overcome. You can talk about how you are doing your best to rise to that challenge. And I think Jean will be sending out an address in the chat for where you can send in your volunteer request for another Doing Your Best segment. We would also be glad to hear about what you might like to see at an upcoming assembly. Do you have an idea for a guest speaker? Is there a subject on which you have knowledge of that you know who could give a good talk, or you could speak yourself? Or do you have ideas the way Rachel did for a poem or a reading, or for telling us a story? Is there a song you'd like to perform? Please let us know, and there's a good chance we'll give you some screen time, or even some live time when we go back live. Now, at this point in the assembly, we've had 4 segments in a row full of, we hope, inspiring and thought-provoking material. So perhaps you guys need a moment to absorb and digest all of this. We've scheduled a moment of reflection. Nothing soothes us better than the sounds of nature, and fellow assembler Steve Sargent, who couldn't be here today, loves to get out there and record nature sounds. He recorded this segment in March 2014 at the Mariposa Grove in Yosemite. So please meditate on it, reflect on it, do what you want, and we'll see you in 2 minutes. Oh boy, I was able to decompress, but it sure took me a while. Thanks for waiting, everyone. Now, we're coming to the segment where we do in fact hear from our members. This one is called Life Happens. And in this segment, whoops, having trouble with my screen. We share little updates about the everyday events in our lives, about any random kindness or senseless acts of beauty that we've witnessed, and occasionally bad puns. If you'd like to contribute right now, go ahead and put something in the chat. Our lives are full of events, pleasant and unpleasant. Sharing heightens our joys and makes pain easier to bear. A good community understands that we aren't perfect and our lives aren't either. So one of the goals of this community is to be a place where we can share our difficulties as well as our joys, a place of compassion where everyone can feel welcomed and accepted and loved. I'm going to start with the easy part, which is the birthdays from April. David Lovis McMahon and Bill Hathaway both had or will have birthdays in April. Now, let me see if I can find the spreadsheet. Here we are. We've got one item from me. A short vacation in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which was full of wonder and beauty and Southwestern food. From Greg Colodonato. He and his wife and their kids are spending spring break on a lake near Atlanta, Georgia, for an annual family reunion with his mother, siblings, and their families. He says we are in a huge VRBO with 8 rooms. Good times. Lisa and Gordon say, we are so happy to announce that our son Aaron is about to graduate from medical school and has just matched for his residency in internal medicine at Kaiser Oakland. Oh, that's pretty close. He was also accepted into a special program where he does a 4th year at UC Berkeley for a master's in public health. It was his first choice, and we're very proud. Even more good news is that Aaron's wife, Savannah, has landed a job as a midwife in a birthing center in San Francisco. A huge bonus is that they will finally be home in the Bay Area after over 5 years away. Oh my, Lincoln, I do look forward to the day when my kids will do that. Or maybe I don't. Mostly I do. Raji says, a dear friend and pseudo-parent of hers is on their last journey. Excuse me while I find the right control for this. Okay, to see the rest of what she wrote. Whoops. Not having much luck here. Is on her last journey. Sorry, this technology does not want to cooperate. Her last journey in this world. Her cancer has moved into her liver and she has mere months to live. She's 95 and has had a full life. Sorry to hear that, Raji. I hope she has at least a peaceful end. I know how cancer is not always a kind end. Krista says, I've been teaching Caden's preschool class about nature. This past month, we learned about pandas, fresh water, Earth Hour, and zoos. Well, I hope this will be a good summer to go to some zoos then, or at least a good spring. Bill says, I'm going to see my parents next week. Yeah. Josh says, I'm taking my kids to Branson, Missouri this summer to see artifacts from the RMS Titanic. Oh, wow. Dredged up from the sea bottom at some amazing depth. Bring us back some pictures, Josh. I'd be interested to see those too. All right, let's just see what we have in the chat. If anyone has announcements. Okay, it looks as if everything made it to the spreadsheet. I hope I haven't missed anything. So thanks for sharing all those things, you people. And please do so some more next month. That's the news from our members and their families. Moving along. This assembly, as I mentioned earlier, isn't the only event we offer. We have a variety of activities every month. Lately, many of them have been online, but that can perhaps change. And yep, we invite you to dig in on Meetup to find out more about these activities and to sign up for them. We also have a quick list here so that you don't have to spend too much time on Meetup just seeing what's available. Bill, can we? Oh, and for a shining example, whoa, look at all those vests. Last Saturday, 7 of us went on a cleanup crew for Coyote Creek down in San Jose. By the smiles on their face and the hats on their heads, it looks as if everyone had a good time and a sunny time as well. So congratulations on doing that. I've done a couple of cleanups myself with Sunday Assembly Silicon Valley. They do bring a real sense of accomplishment. For the rest, I learned from a whole bunch of professors at college that it's not a good idea to simply read through a long slide. So you can read this list and go ahead and sign up for the ones that you think are of interest to you. I especially recommend the brunch on the 1st of May, but that's mostly because I have a lousy singing voice. You will definitely not see me at the sing-along. Our next assembly, well, definitely don't miss that. I just can't tell you all that much about what there will be to not miss. Concerning today's assembly, a lot of volunteers gave of their best to bring this assembly to you. Again, I'll credit you with being able to read the names, but in brief, our presenters, Rachel, Joshua, Richard, and especially Josh, the volunteers at our action team meetings who get these things planned, keep the whole show on the road, our tech team, that's been Bill and Josh today, usually also Steve, our newsletter and media writers, whose names don't appear to be on this slide, but you've definitely seen Jean's name in the chat. All of you for contributing Life Happens events. Our band, last but very far from least. And you, the congregation, deserve not special thanks, but general theory of thanks. You're our people. And we volunteers are grateful for you. If you want to stay in touch between meetups, we have a chat email group. That is to say, we use email to chat about whatever may happen to be going on. The address for that will also be in Zoom chat. And now I get a few minutes to speak to you about happiness. I've mentioned my trip to Santa Fe. Obviously, I love seeing art galleries. I love Southwestern food. I love exploring a new town. None of these would surprise Joshua or anybody, I think. On the flight back from Albuquerque to Burbank, so that was the first leg of the flight back, I was nearly the last to board the plane, and since this was Southwest Airlines, That meant I sat where they told me to sit. And I was in the middle seat, but in the very front row, which wasn't too bad. The woman in the window seat was looking out of the window, and as far as I could notice, she never ever turned her head to look at the rest of the aeroplane, so I respected her privacy. The woman in the aisle seat was all too clearly English, as I am, and was all too clearly doing what my wife and I were doing a few years ago, encouraging a child who was winding their way through the process of applying to universities. And so after that phone call was over, I introduced myself as a fellow countryman. And of course, we had a couple of things to bond over right away. We began exchanging brief life stories. It turned out we lived not so far apart. It turned out there were some films we had in common that we had both enjoyed seeing. And we shared a good few other things, most of which I've forgotten by now. And I'm afraid I said one or two things that it probably would have been better not to say. But all in all, it was a magical experience. And I realized that even though I've mostly been quite happy at home this pandemic, at least two of my best friends have been computers. It's also really great to meet more human people. I find that even I miss them. And my wife has noticed how I've been a happier person since I've been going to Sunday Assembly. And again, meeting people I can connect with and making new friends. And unlike the lady on the aeroplane, we carefully didn't exchange contact information. It didn't seem the right thing to do, but I do look forward to meeting you Sunday Assemblers again. Now, to brighten your day just a little bit more, we'll close with a final song, and that one is True Colors by Cyndi Lauper. Here we go.
Inside you makes you feel so small.
Thank you, band. That was wonderful. And did you notice that song was also performed live in our old haunts in Mountain View? I wonder, is the band trying to give me a hint? Yeah, I must be getting paranoid. But just in case, I'll keep a careful eye on Meetup. Just in case, you understand. We're almost to the end of our hour. The Sunday Assembly motto all the world over is live better, help often, wonder more. Before you go to enjoy the rest of your day, can we say it all together, please, with enthusiasm? Ready, set, go. Live better, help often, wonder more. Thank you. Our program is finished. Our revels now are ended, but you're very welcome to hang around in the conversation tables, the breakout rooms. As I mentioned, Joshua will be available for questions. If you need any help navigating the breakout rooms, go ahead and ask Bill on Tech Ops. Bill, are the breakout rooms ready? The conversation tables.
Yep, people should be all set.
Okay, I think I'll go to the library table. Have fun.